truckman in Dudley has been making parts for 4x4s for 35 years. It employs nearly 90 people in the UK and works with some of the world's biggest car makers. It's exactly the sort of British manufacturing business that will have been listening closely to Boris Johnson's speech this week, setting out his vision for a future trading relationship with the EU and looking for reassurance. Mike Wheeler founded the firm from his shed and is ambitious about its future.
And where do these, what we can see here, where do they actually end up?
OK, these are all doors. So these will end up actually on the hard tops, which we'll see in a minute in assembly. So it's come out of the mould, and these are sort of finishes that we're achieving from the mould. So really, really high gloss.
Very shiny.
Yep. Yeah. And the next part of the process is to trim it. And then once they're trimmed, we just do final finishing. Yeah. To make the product smooth, make sure there are no defects.
So it's almost like the kind of quality control, where everything's perfect.
We start off with buckets of resin, rolls of mat, and we end up with this product all on one site.
Is it mainly the UK market that you service, or do you deal a lot with the EU market as well?
Our market historically has been the UK. The UK is the biggest pickup market in Europe. We've got the business to a size where getting the growth of 15–20% out of the UK market was no longer possible. So we've then looked to export. So we're doing about 10% of our sales into EU countries.
And is it the EU that you feel is the kind of natural market to expand into then?
Yes, it is. You know, for many reasons. Obviously, proximity makes a big difference in terms of our sales effort and supporting and delivery. But culturally, you know, they're very similar in terms of the way they use the product and also the way that they're very open to working in partnership.
I mean, some would say that, you know, post-Brexit, the whole of the world is a possible market for British businesses. We should be looking more to trade with, you know, the US or China or Australia. I mean, is that realistic, do you think, for businesses like yours?
No, not from our UK manufacturing site. And also, those markets have very different tastes and needs. So the American market is a huge pickup market, but actually all their vehicles are different to ours. And then when we look at sort of markets like India, there isn't a big pickup market which uses hardtops. So yes, there are other markets, but they're so far away, they would be difficult for us to service economically.
Boris Johnson's been talking a lot about divergence as well, effectively saying he doesn't want to just have to follow EU rules and standards. What do you make of that from a business perspective?
We're starting off from a level playing field, so you know all of our legislation is the same. So in terms of the quality, the standards for our products, you know, we cannot have two standards in our production and we can't have two standards in our stock. That wouldn't be efficient.
So if you like a higher standard for the EU market and a lower standard for the rest of the world?
Correct. So, you know, we manufacture to our own standards which comply with those regulatory requirements for the markets that we're in. So we'll only make one standard. So even if we ended up with lower standards in the UK, we would still make to the same standards, or even the other way around. You know, if the higher standards were in the UK, we'd make to those. So
you're a bit worried about this talk of divergence then?
I don't think it's realistic from a manufacturing standpoint and a trading standpoint. You know, we've got £3.8 million worth of stock. I'm not going to carry 2 lots of stock because I won't get the efficiency. So it's of no benefit for us.
Both Boris Johnson and the EU have been talking tough ahead of the next phase of talks. Right now, it's difficult to separate the sabre-rattling from the genuine negotiating positions. But business is paying close attention to the government's talk of divergence.
I think the first thing is actually it's been quite a good start to the year for business. I mean, optimism has improved. All our surveys show that. And the challenge now, the opportunity is to turn that optimism into investment, growth, jobs. That's what we've got to do. And the Brexit conversation sort of exists within that framework. So businesses are, of course, really interested in what's going to happen. They do see a government with a strong mandate likely to actually follow quite a clear path, but they want to get involved. They want to be offering advice and help, because every decision we take is going to affect business. So they've got the insight to show how it'll work on the ground.
It's interesting that you say that business has been relatively positive so far this year. I mean, some people would say, well, Brexit is now happening. We were all told that this was going to be catastrophic for business.
Well, there are lots of decisions that, I mean, at the moment that could be helpful or could be damaging. If you take divergence as an example, there are, about 19,000 statutes that we need to look at. Some of them could reduce red tape in agriculture or recycling targets. Some of them, though, if we get them wrong, just double the bureaucracy that businesses face. So there is opportunity, but there is also risk. And again, the only way that we'll get that right is if government and business work together to go through the details step by step and make the right decisions.
Companies like Truckman are confident that whatever happens with Brexit, they will have a successful future. But to unleash their full potential, they're relying on the Prime Minister to deliver in the next set of negotiations.